join my colleagues in congratulating Mr. President for presenting a very good budget that indeed has the capacity to give us a better and more economic buoyant Nigeria. Of course, there's every tendency for us to be concerned that the 3.7% growth that we have in the budget, alongside a 3% percentage increase in population, and the inflation at the rate we have it, it's a bit worrisome. But then, this is where we are, and that is the reality of where we are today as a country. It's a combination of our deeds and misdeeds in the past, and also a combination of global challenges that has posed headwinds to the economy. But I think what the president is saying is that we may be product of our past, but we should not be prisoners to our past. And that is what is reflected in the budget that we have. The numbers are good, and it shows the audacity of leadership and the courage of the leadership that we have in our country today. When we look at debt service, in the past, we used to have debt service of about 99% of our revenue. Today, what we have in the budget presented is about 45%. Yes, it could come lower, but that is more than half. When we look at our taxes, what we had as at last budget was just somewhere about 10% of GDP. What was presented by Mr. President was about 18% of GDP. Ditto with deficit, which used to be about 3%, and about 6% of GDP, whereas what we have was about 6%. In all, I think we are beginning to have the hope that of a better country, which we've all been talking about here, and I'm indeed quite pleased. But I think the 2-3 areas I want to mention, my colleagues have said quite a lot, are areas that as we go into debating this budget, or meeting the MDAs, and also the implementations, some of the areas that I think we need to pay attention to. One is the monetary policy. As our physical ecosystem is getting settled and is getting organized, we need a more stabilized foreign exchange rate, particularly because of the private sector. I therefore want to enjoin the monetary policy managers that as we maintain the exchange rate along its fundamentals, we should also be wary of self-progressive speculative attacks at the Naira, because I think this is also some of the factors that have contributed to what we have today as the exchange rate. Another area is our institutions. No matter how good our policies are, they will have to be implemented by our institutions. Our institutions need to be strengthened, including the judiciary and all the other institutions that we can talk about. The president spoke about job-rich economic growth. That is indeed good, and quite a number of my friends have also commended the presidency for giving such a high percentage to education. But I think what this job-rich economic growth meant is to focus more on skill acquisitions and vocational training. And I think that in that regard, we need to talk to institutions like ITF, set up for to fund skills. What is happening to some of these funds? Finally, is the situation in our border towns. I've said it more than twice or thrice on this floor, that part of the country that suffers most in terms of infrastructure development are our border towns. And as we speak, my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, despite the fact that they have removed the subsidy, despite the fact that we are all enjoying this subsidy now to some extent with enhanced revenue and all of that, the petroleum products in the border towns are still not reaching 20 kilometers to to the border. And people in those border towns are still paying exorbitantly for petroleum products. I think it is about time, as we are having a renewed hope budget, I think the people in the border towns also need their hope renewed in the area of the presidency, the government, removing the 20 kilometers limit placed on where petroleum products can reach. Subsidy has been removed. Let these people also breathe. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, again, I want to congratulate Mr. President for presenting a budget that I believe, indeed, it will help in snowballing our country and our economy to a greater height. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Femi. Honorable Felix Mweke, is he around? From the Great Rivers, please. After you, Honorable Femi can also speak.
Right, the Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members, my name is Felix Ucheweke. I come from River State. I represent Eleme, Tai, and Oyibo Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my view on this budget, 2024 budget, I would only limit my contribution to very few things. My colleagues have done a lot on this. We have talked well on the provision made for education. I will lend my voice that will increase. During consideration, we make more provision for education and security, especially the security of Abuja. One of our colleagues here said it. Abuja used to be the safe haven in the whole country. But today, Abuja is no longer that very, very safe. We need to do something. But, Mr. Speaker, the burning issues in my mind is how do we achieve 1.78 barrels of oil production daily? We know that since 2020, the country has not been able to achieve up to 1.3. Therefore, yes, we have declared emergency in oil theft, but we need to do more to stop people stealing our oil. And what we get, we see that Navy will bring down a ship. How does the ship come in? A vessel will come in, stay in the country, load crude for 3 weeks. Only at the point of departure, we will hear that this vessel was arrested and destroyed. It is only the one they want to make public that they will make public. We need to have a proactive action to stop those kind of things. Otherwise, we will not meet our target. Another thing is the president and the executive arm have done their job. During our retreat, the organizers of the retreat did well and brought resource persons that educated us that the power of appropriation is in our hands. We have the powers to make and unmake when it comes to budget, and the budget is here now. 750 naira per dollar. Is it possible? Is it achievable? Today, it is still above 1,200. What is the magic that will be done between now and January and February to achieve 750 naira per dollar? So, honorable colleagues, I would like to call on all of us that we have to be diligent in appropriation, in dealing with this budget. We'll have the powers to do the proper things. Where we cannot, where we don't have the know-how, we engage consultants to help us because we must fix this country. Another point I have is on social development. This money, cash transfer, the money appropriated, the money provided for social development, I think we should look at it properly. Instead of sending 5,000, 10,000 to people, we can change it and go into proper skill acquisition, skill education, to educate people, for people to have what to do. By so doing, anybody that is trained and empowered can also employ other people. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable
Thank you,
Ize.
No, Mr. Speaker.
No, I recognize, okay, Honorable Femi.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead. Sorry. Ize, you speak after.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Olufemi Ogunbanwo. I represent the financially prudent people of Ijebu Ode Odogbolu, Ijebu Northeast Federal Constituency of Ogun State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my only little contribution will be on the issue of servicing of debt and capital spending. From the budget presented, Mr. Speaker, we are to spend 8.25 trillion to service the debt. And we shall be spending 8.7 trillion on capital spending. This calls for concern, Mr. Speaker. I'm of the view, Mr. Speaker, that the situation we have find ourselves as a nation, there is serious need to look at the cost of governance, and also, as a parliament, we must consider steps on how to make sure that we as people, we patronize made in Nigeria products and reduce less dependence on imported goods. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, we are at a crossroad. We are facing serious challenges, but there are some countries who have passed through what we are passing through today. What did they do? A country like India and China, at a stage, India, they decided that they could go naked. If that is how to save the economy, that is, instead of relying on imported textile, they will wear whatever that can be produced in their country. What I'm trying to suggest, Mr. Speaker, in a nutshell, is that it is time for us as a nation to reduce importation of things that can be produced in Nigeria, and critically look at the cost of governance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Jafar Mohammed Shatima. Are you ready? Sorry, you speak after. Is he around? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleague, Jafar Mohammed Shatima Bargu is my name. I represent Borgu Agwara Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Niger State. Mr. Speaker, my contribution is going directly on educational sector. simply because the way and manner the 2024 budget, which is Renew Hope budget, being laid at the National Assembly due to committed, due to commitment, particularly in the educational sector, whereby huge amount of money has been allocated to education. Mr. Speaker, we need to call ourselves, particularly we at the northern side of the country, due to the educational decline, educational downgrading, particularly in our tertiary education, due to the insecurity of nowadays. Mr. Speaker, I was in Kontagora last time, which is served as our senatorial headquarters in Niger State. I was at the Federal College of Education, whereby I got a short story in a situation whereby Federal College of Education used to admit nothing less than 4,000 students every year, leaving order looking for admission. But due to the situation of the insecurity, this year they haven't got more than, not less than 500 students, whereby the Federal College of Education of Kontagora lost about 3,500 students due to the insecurity. This is a sign, particularly with the stakeholders of northern Nigeria, not in Nigeria alone. The entire northern Nigeria, we need to put more effort with this kind of budget that's being lent to our college chambers. Mr. Speaker, our honorable colleague, we need to supervise, we need to advise, particularly in terms of implementation of whatever being put in education. This is a gigantic effort we need to make to ensure the educational sector will not collapse in the northern Nigeria. So for that, I want to use this opportunity to give more encouragement for the passage of this 2024 budget, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much. I so submit. Thank
you. Okay, Honorable Ise, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well-respected colleagues, Eze, Nwachukwu Eze is my name, the Ihuro one of Okalego Kingdom. I represent the good people of Ebonyi, Ohuku Federal.
Honorable Waleokin, you are back. Welcome back to Nigeria. You are looking good. Please just stand up for recognition.
I represent the good people of Ebonyi, Ohuku Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Ebonyi State. May I also join my other colleagues who have spoken earlier than now to congratulate and eulogize you for that wonderful and memorable address. Mr. Speaker, that day you stole the show, and Nigerians are commending you, and we are proud to have you as our leader. Mr. Speaker, in the issue of the budget, the renewed hope budget, it's no doubt that man is a product of hope. When things are good, we hope that it gets better. When they are not, we hope they will get better. The renewed hope means that
the hope of this country was at the verge of getting expired. And Mr. President, with the renewed hope mantra, came on board with the promises. Which further steps he has taken so far, the removal of the fuel subsidy and the budget presentation, well articulated, well captured, and timely. No doubt he means well for this country, and we are here to give him the necessary support. But Mr. Speaker, I am worried. In some areas, I want to make my input. My worry is based on when you go down to our various localities in the constituencies, you discover that previous governments had budgets, some of them implemented. But when you look at those projects implemented earlier than now, you see in the community, boreholes, electricity, schools. Today, Mr. Speaker, you visit those places. These projects are abandoned. There's no provision for maintenance. You go to schools, schools renovated, well built. Today, they are dilapidated. You don't find children in our public primary schools because down the constituencies, these federal government projects executed do not have ownership. There is no oversight down to our constituencies. Year in, year out, funds are being allocated to build more, but the ones...
Honorable Prince, please be attentive.
But the ones built already doesn't have ownership. Mr. Speaker, as parliamentarians, saddled with the responsibility of oversight, I want this House to take it further to stepping down our oversight to what we have and the state of this infrastructure in our localities, so that next year's budget of this renewed hope will not be renewed hope again. It will be consolidation of the renewed hope. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, last week in my office, one of my faithful constituents walked in, and he came to look for a job. I asked him, what have you been doing before? He said he was in the army, but he resigned. Further question on why he resigned, why people are jostling to join the military, Mr. Speaker, tears ran down my cheek when he opened up. He said he had a terrible experience that only God saved him. That somewhere in Borno State where they were posted to work, that fellow military men sabotaged the whole security exercise by giving information to terrorists who rounded them up. The whole military men that were dispatched for that journey, there were only 2 that escaped and survived. And that's why he came out and quickly resigned. A heavy amount of money had been voted for security, Mr. Speaker. And Nigerians are expecting to have changes. How do we spend this money when down the rank and file there is no encouragement to the troops, which leads to them compromising, including to the extent of taking up the life of their colleagues? Mr. Speaker, the situation is alarming. Something needs to be done. The direction of oversight on the activities of these security chiefs, and to the extent they have close relationship with the troops on ground. Nigeria is no more safe. We don't need to pretend about this. Let the renewed hope be extended to this grassroots so that common Nigerians will be confident enough to sleep with their 2 eyes closed. This does not limit, it's not limited to the security agents alone. You go to the ministries. A lot is happening. In my constituency today, I have to tell you, Mr. Speaker, because I'm going to take it up. In 2023 budget, we have budgetary allocation to some projects. Till today, monies have been released, but none of this project was done. Mr. Speaker, I'm coming up with it. We can't continue this way and live this way in this country and expect anything reasonable change. So I suggest in this budget, in as much as we have the powers by the Constitution to make input, not just talking here, but actionable input in the budget, let us, please, with all humility, I submit, let every legislator here go home and constitute what may be called project custodians in various constituencies, so that when these projects are executed, people can assume ownership, make sure they are kept and kept functional. Not every day we keep rolling out projects while the system is decaying. Mr. Speaker, finally, Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dr. Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, our indefatigable Speaker, my distinguished, understanding and patriotic colleagues. I remain Chief Dr. Billy Famous Adesuwa Osawaru. I represent the good people of Oriomo Nwode Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I remain the proud Benin Chief from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, it's true, my people have said, when you get into a meeting of parliamentarians, and we all end up smiling when we are coming out, that means we have not told ourselves the whole truth. My distinguished colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that today, the 10th Assembly is the most colorful assembly in the history of Nigerian Parliament. We have about 8 political parties, with APC as the majority party. Mr. Speaker, we are all now going to be here talking about the same thing and not being to talk about the big elephant in the room. Mr. Speaker, it's true that Nigeria is a country that is comprised of more than 60% of youth. Anything we want to talk about, Mr. Speaker, first of all, we must start from the foundation. If we want to have a better Nigeria tomorrow, we must have a solid education for every youth in Nigeria. That starts from the allocation of the budget, because we have seen from history that certain part of this country today, because of free education policy, today they are able to do a lot of things by being sustainable in all the different policies they put in place. And some other part were not that lucky. And today we talk about security issues. If we drill down, we'll find out lack of primary education, basic education, is responsible for the security issues we are having in this country today. Mr. Speaker, we look at health. A sick nation cannot grow. It is a shame that the giant of Africa, we cannot provide universal health care. I repeat, the giant of Africa cannot provide universal health care for its people, both young and old. How can a country like that grow? Mr. Speaker, we need to take health care as a priority in this country. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the President for the renewed hope budget he has brought to us. Looking at the situation the country is right now, our people are suffering. That is why Mr. President has come up with so many programs under the Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation to alleviate the poverty of Nigerian people. We have the conditional cash transfer. We have the Yaloja Fund. We have student loans. We have a small, medium scale business initiative. Mr. Speaker, I want to crave the understanding of this House to know that these programs must not be short-term programs. These programs must be sustainable. Anything we are doing today, yes, it's true, there is a program right now where we want to give conditional cash transfer, 25,000 a month for 3 months. What happens after that? So we are craving the understanding of this House, push more money into poverty alleviation for the Nigerian people so that this can be sustainable. It is better you don't start a program than you start a program that is not sustainable. That would become another issue for us. Mr. Speaker, we have had good budgets in the past, but what we have not had is good oversight. Today, I want to challenge the National Assembly that if we fail on the renewed whole budget, we have a lot of explanations to do. Because, according to the last speaker before I got up, yes, we agree that we have been failing in our oversight project. Mr. Speaker, I have done some research to find out we have been lazy in the way we carry out our oversight. Today, I challenge the House. We must have a benchmark. We must have a benchmark, Mr. Speaker, so that if we as National Assembly oversighting the MDAs, at the end of the year, we should have a performance benchmark where we can review our performance ourselves. Because you cannot be oversighting and you cannot review your own performance. That is why we have been failing. Mr. Speaker, the 10th Assembly must be the first assembly to get it right. By the end of the year 2024, let's go back and do a review of all the oversight functions we carried out. And because our goal is to make sure by the end of 2024, at least 95% of the budget would have been implemented.
Thank you, Doctor.
It is unacceptable to have our budget performance less than 40%. Mr. President, I said,
Thank you, Doctor.
The big elephant in the room. This is the big elephant in the room. And we must talk about it.
Order.
Thank you.
Order. The speaker is speaking. Hello, you sit down when the speaker is speaking.
Can I round up, please?
No.
Mr. Speaker,
You sit down when the speaker is speaking.
You have exhausted your time, please.
I have the protection of the
No,
speaker.
sit down.
No, you don't have.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you very much for being a good leader to this House. Again, like I said, whatever we do as parliamentarians, we want our constituents to be proud of us. The renewed whole budget is here. We will do everything to make sure we work with the executive to make sure this budget becomes 95% fruition by the end of 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Our very senior colleague from Bauchi, you have the floor. Please make it quick because we are going to adjourn by 1. Today is Friday. Our Muslim brothers will be going for Jumat prayers. So please don't go beyond 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Dr. Awolu Abdugolabe. I represent the good people of Katagum Federal Constituency from Bauchi State.
You know we don't have time. I don't want us to waste time debating. Unless if it is too important, let us just identify 2-3 people to speak and then we round up. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Dr. Awolu Abdugolabe. I represent the good people of Bauchi, Katagum from Bauchi State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to talk on this important bill, even though I come from the opposition. Mr. Speaker, for the past 20 years, we've gone through budgets. I have not seen a good budget proposal like this one where the traditional 70 to 75% of recurrent expenditure has now been reduced to less than 50%. And the capital expenditure has now increased from the traditional 20% to about 36% of the proposal today. I have for a very long time been an agitator for reducing the overhead cost on the recurrent expenditure. If you look at the Nigerian population, we spend about 70 to 75% of our total earnings on recurrent expenditure, and for a very long time we have been agitating to reduce this. And by this proposal, we have seen today that yes, the recurrent expenditure has reduced drastically to less than 50% of the entire total budget proposal. And the capital expenditure has now risen a little bit from the traditional 20-25% to about 36%. I believe this is a very good proposal, and I will concur with it, I will stand with it, and I hope our IGR and all the evidence of we trying to generate money will be able to meet up with this good proposal. And I hope when it comes to implementation, we will implement it to the core. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Mr.
Honorable colleagues, please, you pardon us. We can take only one. We have only 11 minutes to round up, and we have other issues to discuss. So I will recognize only one person from this side, and we round up the debate. Please, I beg you to please understand we don't have the time. Okay? Honorable Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Dr. Midala Usman Balami. I represent the good and dynamic people of Askira Uba, Howell Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Borno State. Let me first of all quickly take this opportunity to appreciate the President of Nigeria for presenting the budget of Renew Hope for 2024. But as other speakers have mentioned, let me also put it here that there is need for us to have a kind of a concerted effort and looking at implementation and ensuring that this budget has a positive impact on Nigerians. I want to say that there is this need for us to have a particular interest in looking at inclusivity, ensuring that people living with disability, women and girls, youth are prioritized across ministries in terms of the implementation. If there is not concerted effort for this target group I have mentioned to have that opportunity and have a positive response in terms of the implementation of this program, we may not have the anticipated impact of this budget. Mr. Speaker, let me say here that all of us are aware that we are passing through difficult times, and youth empowerment and employment is critical in the life of what we are passing through now. I want to say that all temporary measures that are put in place to support the sustainability of Nigeria, there is a need for us to look at it across the budget line, that opportunities are given to young people in terms of economic empowerment, skills development, and employment. This should be considered across the ministries, most especially young people that have graduated and young people that have potential to make impact in this digital generation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I appreciate you, colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable colleagues. I think we have said enough, both in favor or and against the budget proposals. I think at this time,
Mr. Speaker,
I will call on members to express their support or otherwise on this budget bill. So without any waste of time, I will put the question. Those in support of this bill be read for the second time, should say aye. Aye. Those who are in support of this bill be read the second time, say aye. Aye. Those against, you say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 27,503,404,773,861 naira only, of which 1,376,352,359,699 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8,490,960,606,831 naira only is for debt service. 9,918,248,229,600 naira only is for the current non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 7,750,877,740 naira only is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2024. Second reading.
This bill is read. This bill is referred to the Committee on Appropriation, with all standing committees as subcommittees of the Committee on Appropriation. Thank you. Honorable colleagues, we have some announcements. You remember yesterday I announced to you that Committee on Appropriations will be meeting with its members today by 3 p.m. at room 301, I think. Also tomorrow, same Committee of Appropriation will be engaging all chairmen and deputies of standing committees. So please take note. Tomorrow, all chairmen and deputies, I think time is 11 a.m. tomorrow. Venue, I think same 301? 301, right? Okay. Honorable colleagues, it's my pleasure to announce the remaining committees that we have not actually identify or appoint their leadership. And the committees are as follows. Petroleum Resources Training Funds. The chairman will be Honorable Iritemi Thomas, while the deputy will be Honorable Ajilo Umaru. Committee on States and Local Governments. You have Honorable Shehu Saleh Rijau. Alias, is Honorable Rijau around? He's not around. And the deputy is Honorable Vincent Van Mambulus from Plateau. Committee on Traditional Institutions, you have Honorable Ari Abdulmuminu as the chairman, while Honorable Mohammed Abubakar III as the deputy. Committee on Food Security and Nutrition, you have Honorable Chike John Okafo as the chairman, while Honorable Peter Anikwe will be his deputy. Committee on Neseni, you have Honorable Tawfiq Bimbo Ajile Soro as the chairman, while his deputy will be Honorable Zanna Bongudu. Committee on National Security and Intelligence, the deputy chairman will be Honorable Martins Oke George. Committee on Aviation Technology, the new chairman will be Honorable Abiodun Akelade. Committee on Digital and Communication Technology, The new deputy chairman will be Honorable Rahiz Abdulkadir. Committee on Healthcare Services, new chairman is Honorable Dennis Idahosa. Committee on Foreign Affairs, the deputy will be Honorable Dibiago Eugene Okechuku. Committee on Federal Colleges of Education, the new chairman will be Honorable Tanko Adamu. Committee on Public Sector / Institutional Reforms, the deputy chairman will be Honorable John Dafan. Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values, the deputy chairman will be Honorable Felix Nweke. Committee on Interior, the chairman will be Honorable Ahmed Aliyu Abdullahi. Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs, the chairman will be Honorable Nwachuku Kanis Mo from Imo. Committee on Special Duties, the deputy chairman will be Honorable Abdullah Rashid. Committee on Labor, Employment and Productivity, the deputy chairman will be Honorable Mukhtar Chawe Zakari. Committee on Police Institution, the new chairman will be Honorable Ali Boya. Committee on Renewable Energy, the deputy chairman will be Honorable Aliu Ilyas from Kasina. Committee on Safety Standard, chairman will now be Honorable Dr. Suleiman Gumi. Committee on Niger Delta Ministry, the deputy chairman will be Honorable Umar Yusuf Yabo. Committee on Diaspora, the new chairman will be Honorable Tochuku Chinedu Okere. Committee on Science Research Institutions, the new chairman will be Honorable Prince Olaide Akiremi, and the deputy will be Honorable Kabir Ahmadu Maipalas. Committee on Science Engineering, the chairman will be Honorable Inu Garba, while the deputy will be Honorable Jafaru Magaji. Women in Parliament, the deputy chair will be Honorable Amadi Blessing Chigeru. Youth in Parliament, the deputy chairman will be Honorable Maazu Abdullahi Gwarzo. Committee on Internal Security of the National Assembly, the new deputy chairman will be Honorable Hart Cyril Godwin from Rivers. These are the updated list of committees, chairmen and deputies. It is important that where there will be the need for handing over, the new and the outgoing should please ensure that they do the handing over immediately so that the budget engagements with MDAs by next week will be seamless. Another announcement, members are informed that membership of committees has been reconstituted to ensure equity in the distribution of the membership. Accordingly, all geopolitical zones are represented equally across all committees. Members should collect the list of their committees from the office of the Chief of Staff immediately after plenary. So this time around, honorable colleagues, every member has a slip to collect which will indicate the list of committees he belongs to. Where you have any genuine complaint on the membership of your committee, please try to see Mr. Chamberlain, the Deputy Chairman Legislative, and present your complaint. Inshallah, we will look at it objectively and do the needful. Yeah. Pardon? Honorable Awal, if you are still around, please approach the chair just for a minute. Honorable Awal Abdul Galabi, if you are please around, approach the chair. Honorable colleagues, please, there is an important issue where your intervention will be needed immediately. There are some, there is a palliative for all members, 360 members. I would want to urge you to look at the platform today to get details of the palliatives, where it is coming from, the number given to each member, and the time frame needed for you to actually populate and they return back. So please, in the next 1 to 2 hours, check our platform to obtain the details. Thank you. Leader of the House, can you please move that we adopt the votes and proceedings of today?
Thank you. Distinguished honorable colleagues, I hereby move that we step down all other items on the other paper to enable us to consider our reports. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Can you second?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved by the acting House leader. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it.
Order, order, please, order.
Leader, can you please move that the House adjourn plenary to December 12th to enable committees to engage MDAs for budget? Honorable Leader, I thought I directed what you should move.
Speaker.
But since you have done the order, please can you also equally move that we adopt the votes and proceedings of today's deliberations.
I moved same in my motion and it was
We assume it's done in principle.
I moved
We
same
just
in my
assume that
motion
it's done
and it
in
was
principle.
seconded.
So,
I only
what
move
is
for adjournment.
the leader talking about?
It's now
Move. He has to move. You should take it again.
Is that what you have done?
I have moved for that before and it was seconded.
Okay,
I
so
only
please
move
go
for
ahead
adjournment.
now and move that the House adjourn through December
Mr.
12th to
Speaker.
enable committees to engage with
Thank
the
you, Mr.
relevant MDAs
Speaker,
for budget.
Distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Abdullah Ibrahim Halims. I am from Kogi State. I represent the good people of Ankpa Omalala Federal Constituency. I hereby move that the House do adjourn till 12th of December to enable all committees deal with our budgets. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, can you second, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. The House having adopted the votes and proceedings, I rise to second the motion that the House do adjourn to 12 December whilst we continue to operate in committees. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. As adjourned through December 12, 11 a.m. to enable committees engaged with the relevant MDAs for budget purposes. Thank you.